Hi everyone, welcome to Real Estate Leading Change. Today I'll be your host. I actually will be your host with Princess Debbie, but I think she's traveling around. And Real Estate Leading Change is actually an inclusiveness of real estate of world woman leading change. We have about 14 other inclusiveness and we run a conference show every day. Tonight it's the number 275 is actually the closing gate of all our education channel. We are nominated as the most active organization for Guinness Book of Record. We have managed to make conference every day, exactly the same time every day. Now, real estate leading change is the purpose is to create world biggest online real estate conference to educate the people. We started since April and we have educate from finance, we educate real estate and operation, we educate real estate and prop tech, we educate real estate and maintenance. And tonight is the last one and the most important one. Yes. Before we start, tonight we will call real estate the art of living. Why? Because every single thing that you experience in this whole world, it's real estate. You name it, your food, it's grow from the land, your clothes, there is a real estate factors in your clothes. Everything is real estate. In fact, your body is your whole complete real estate. Your mind is real estate. Your heart is real estate. So you need to be mindful on this. We will go through with amazing speaker tonight. We have 3 different country speakers. They all are amazing people. I have met them during my path, and I tell you, they are just amazing. We will listen to what they think of the art of living. But before we start, I will call up President Mbali Twala, our youth of real estate in Africa, to open with words of prayer and followed by President Juliastina to acknowledge the president. Over to you, President Bali. Don't forget to pray for our leader today that have a birthday, President Chase. Over to you, President Bali.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen on the platform. Thank you very much, Professor Ayla, for the honor of leading today's proceedings with prayer. May we kindly bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we humble ourselves at the foot of your throne in awe of your generosity that you have displayed over our lives until this moment. We are here to thank you once again for affording us an opportunity to gather together as the great minds that you have selected to change the world, and we are looking forward to learning. We thank you, dear Heavenly Father, for yet another day that you have made for us to stress and be glad in. We are praying for your extended blessings upon President Chase. It is her birthday today. May you bless her abundantly with continued life and even more wisdom. May you travel together with President Princess Debbie Raphuti and Mama Rebecca as they are traveling overseas today. May you send your Holy Spirit to be with them and afford them the opportunity to land in their destination safely. Thank you that whatever information we are receiving on this platform this afternoon is going to be useful for us, going to change us, and it is going to trigger us to act beyond today's session and to even make an even better and even bigger impact going forward as world women leading change. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Let me introduce myself. I'm Julastina. I'm Infrastructure Leading Change President for Asia, and also I'm the Group CEO for Hujan Asset Management. I welcome you, everyone, to join us with this last session of Real Estate Leading Change. Welcome also our President, Global President. Thank you very much for the platform, President Ayla, and also our youth President Leseho, our President Mbali Twala. And also I welcome my partner, Mr. Nusa Rangkuti, my partner in data center, and also please welcome Anna Leonti. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening and enjoy our session today. Thank you.
Thank you, President Juliastina. We also have Mpo and Norma all the way from South Africa joining us. So I will give the platform with maybe Mr. Juan. Mr. Juan. So Mr. Juan is the founder of BioArt. So over to you, Mr. Juan.
Okay, thank you, and hello everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be in this conference. I gotta say I'm not actually a regular speaker, and most of the times what I dedicate my long hours of work during the day is doing design work. But it happens that I have written a few papers in relationship to the science of bioarchitecture and energetics that I would like to share with you tonight. In particularly because we don't have a lot of time, and I wanted to present one of the papers I wrote called The 5 Elements in Bioarchitecture, but it's quite extensive. So I prepared sort of like a synthesis of that paper, which is something I call the 3 keys to bioenergetic design. So what I'm going to explain here is basically some very fundamental principles of what is the difference in between a structure that is built using these bioenergetic principles, and what is the difference with another structure that haven't been built with this kind of bioenergetic approach. So this concept of bioenergetics applied to architecture has a lot to do with effectively with electronics, with electric engineering. So to understand how structures are able to interact with energies, we need to begin by talk about the earth energy, or the Schumann frequency. And we're gonna start to describe what is the Schumann frequency and how interact with nature, in particular with trees and with forests and with ecosystems. So, and then we're gonna understand that these energies that are actually created in the earth, in what is called the Schumann harmonics, are also affecting structures and are also affecting our own bodies. But let's go forward. So I have a little presentation I'm gonna follow, so I'm not gonna lose my train of thought. So let's start by defining what is the Schumann frequency with what is the earth frequency. So we have what's called the Schumann frequency resonances. These are extremely low frequencies, or ELF, in the earth electromagnetic field. So these resonances are a global electromagnetic phenomena generated by and excited by lightning discharges and the energetic condition that is generated in the cavity that is formed in between the earth crust and the earth ionosphere. So these electromagnetic energies are actually harvested by trees, by entire ecosystems. And we will see a little further how this actually defines the health of an ecosystem and the health of a tree. So these are like the quintessence of life. They are the subtle energetic phenomena that trees and living things are actually feeding upon these energies. We're gonna see as well that actually buildings and structures, when are designed in certain way and using certain materials, they are able, like trees, to actually capture these energies, and they are able to provide those subtle harmonics, those subtle energies to the inhabitants of these buildings, promoting their health and longevity and creating so many other benefits to their life and their condition. So I'm going to name a scientist who actually is the person who initiated lots of this work, which was Philip Callahan. So he describes, he was actually a radio engineer and an electronic engineer, and he understands this principle by doing his work, and he began to use his radio amplifiers in trees, and he was able to measure these frequencies coming from the subtle energy coming from trees themselves. So he says that trees are actually a dielectric antenna. And we will explain this a little bit further. This gets a little bit technical into an electric engineering terms, but trees are dielectric antennas that tap into this low frequency, extremely low frequency. And you can measure the harmonics of the Schumann harmonic cascade actually come from trees. So what he noticed is that when he will measure these harmonics coming out of the subtle energy fields of trees, he could determine the health of a living tree by measuring these frequencies coming out from the tree itself. So he noticed that when these frequencies were present, this was an indication that the tree was actually in a healthy condition. And when he will measure a tree that actually was about to die, he noticed that these frequencies were not present. So this then could be used to actually determine the health of a tree, but not just of a tree, but a whole forest, a whole living ecosystem. So why the Schumann frequency is so fundamental to living systems? One of the things that we understand is like, this is not just in the case of trees, this actually happens to our own bodies, also happens to animals. There are experiments where they have been carried out where people are insulated from the Schumann harmonics, the Schumann resonances. And when they are insulated from the Schumann harmonics, what's happened is that your entire body start to fall out of order, of balance or equilibrium. So people will have psychological problems. They will start to feel depressed. They will feel like dizzy and fatigue and all sorts of things. So this has been a study, but there is also a lot of evidence of this thing happening to human beings when they are isolated from the Schumann harmonics. And this occurs specifically when astronauts go to space. So in the beginning, they were not aware of this, but very soon they realized that they needed to resolve this situation. So they created what is called the Schumann frequency generator, which is a device that produces these frequencies artificially. So when astronauts go to space, they carry the Schumann frequency generator with them, and they're able to mitigate some of the problems that come with being isolated from the Earth electromagnetic field. And by carrying these, they can normalize their health condition, and they can then spend long periods of time in space without having trouble. So yeah, this is like, like air, like food, like, the air we breathe, the food we eat. These frequencies are the quintessence to life. And this is something that actually Lou Montagnier, did a number of experiments with DNA. He found out that the Schumann frequency, 7.8 hertz, is actually fundamental for DNA to replicate normally. And his experiments also have so many other relevant information. But in essence, one of the things that you can actually see from his experiments is like the DNA, the Schumann frequency is fundamental for DNA to replicate properly and functionally. So let's talk about like, how the Schumann frequency affects structures and buildings. So and how these frequencies can many times be present in our environment, in our, you know, man-made environments or structures where we live in, and how they can in other cases not be, and what are, how these occur, what are the factors that condition the presence of these frequencies. So one very important aspect of how these frequencies can be present in our environment is what kind of materials our buildings, our structures actually are made of. So essentially, we need to understand the nature of what's called dielectric materials. Dielectric materials are in electronics the material that is situated in between the two plates of a capacitor. So a dielectric material is a storage, is a condenser that is able to store an electrical potential, an electric field. And this field is known as capacitance. Okay, so that's a little technical, but let's go further, and we're gonna see the implications that this has to architecture. Capacitance exists in any given situation in between two electrical potentials. So if there is a positive charge and a negative charge, that difference of potential will create an electrical field in between. So in that particular situation, that's what's happening inside of a capacitor. But these also occur in between the atmosphere, which is positively charged, and the earth, which has a negative opposite charge. So any dielectric material situated in between the atmosphere and the earth, for example, a forest or a building, exhibit the same electrical condition as the dielectric component inside of a capacitor, which is capable of storing an electric charge. So in the case of buildings, this operates, or forests, or entire ecosystems, or the entire biosphere, effectively, that this is what exists in between the surface of the earth and the ionosphere, operates as the electric in a capacitor, but this is a very large scale and is a subtle energy and an ELF, which is extremely low frequency. But this is pure electrical engineering terms. So it's completely factual. What's happening, even if architects do not consider this kind of phenomena, we will understand that this actually has profound implications to architecture and to the people who live in these spaces. So moreover, we need to understand the concept of dielectric constant. The dielectric constant in a capacitor is defined by the amount of permeability of a material in being capable of concentrate dielectric flux. So in its electromagnetic conjugate will be the iron core in an electromagnetic coil, which increase the magnetic field, increase the magnetic flux permeability. So then the same direct relationship when the electric constant increases, the electric flux density also increases in a capacitor. So good good dielectric constant in materials is very beneficial. This is why natural materials, which is everything that nature is made of, obviously, which is their fractal materials with very high dielectric constant, are very good for buildings, where artificial materials and materials who have very low dielectric constant are actually not very good for performing in this sense like a capacitor. So in nature, any biological process that generates materials, these natural processes generate this kind of very coherent, very fractal structures, and these have a very high dielectric constants, which are very beneficial for buildings, because then they are able to harvest these electric flux densities that we're talking about. So many structures, not just capacitors, using electronics exhibit capacitance. In physics, the physics of the electric systems are very complex in relation to standard electrodynamics. However, structures such as cones, pyramids, and domes can be seen as waveguides that collect and direct energy. So now we're going into the concept of antennas. Antennas are also fractal structures. For example, mobile phones also use fractal antenna design to harvest electromagnetic frequencies. So here what we're talking about is like trees and buildings can be seen as complex dielectric fractal antennas. So they are antennas, but they are dielectric. They are not non-electric electromagnetic. They harvest dielectric energy coming from the Schumann resonances, and this can be measured. So also, we can speak about what's called dielectric resonators. Dielectric resonators are sort of a resonator can resonate these dielectric energies and then it's able to amplify them. So this also happens in the natural world, and this is also something that can happen inside of buildings, and buildings can actually amplify dielectric energy, and this can be profoundly beneficial for people who live in these structures. So
thank you, Juan.
yeah.
So,
is that I already passed my time? I have so much more to talk about, but
I know. I wish to have you in 1 hour session.
I think I need more.
Before we go to the next speaker, because I want people to also ask and have a conversation. Before we go to the next speaker, I would like to call up Princess Debbie. Princess Debbie, can you say hello? Princess Debbie is the real estate leading change, my partner in Africa. Can you say hello to us? Princess Debbie. Okay. Princess Debbie. Okay, so let's move to the second speaker, which is Mr. Thomas. He is a humankind science from New Zealand. He's traveled, I think, all over the world to develop buildings, and he's amazing, knowledgeable person. I personally met him in Bali just recently, and I'm very honored to meet Juan and Thomas in Bali. Over to you, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Ayla. Yes, I'm honored to be on here. Really appreciate the opportunity. And I love listening to Juan. Juan's actually my partner. We work together. He's the architect and geometer, and we work together on the scientific processes because we don't work with just architecture. We also work with products based on the same principles. So if we look at this, basically, look at ancient cultures all over the world. They all built in harmony with nature. People know the basic stuff like Stonehenge, the pyramids. They're all aligned astronomically. We find it, out in the heart of the American desert, places like Chaco Canyon. There's like a dozen major houses built, like there's 100 million cut sandstone blocks, perfect masonry, gigantic place. Took a couple hundred years to build. It's an 18.6 year lunar cycle calendar. Like, what in the world? It's not like just people were just out scratching in existence, trying to get corn and put it into pots. There's something else going on. And we find this everywhere in the world. It's hard for us to understand because our modern culture, we just build on our property lines and we build with what we think. So, we're not really building in harmony with nature. Maybe we might see certain museums or certain places and parks in big cities where they do take this into account. But in general, it's not really our nature. And, that's because basically the scientific philosophy of modern science is what we call reductionist science. That everything is based on, smashing atoms, space is dead, just dead matter blew up, clumped together, rocks crashing, stars smashing. It's all wearing down. And in that, and this is true, this is the true scientific philosophy, in that we're just lucky chance. Consciousness and life, they're byproducts of all this random stuff banging around out there. On the other side, we have what we call the bioenergetic sciences, where we investigate all the life processes. We look at things as functional organisms. So we can look at a plant like a modern biologists might look at a plant, they cut the leaf up and put it under a microscope and look at the cells, and even with electron microscopes and further imaging, and try to construct the DNA. And it's fascinating. You know, there's nothing wrong with that science. We wouldn't be talking on this equipment if it didn't exist. But it's very one-sided, and what's lacking in there is life and consciousness do not exist anywhere as structural components within that type of science. So we can look at a tree, not just or a plant at any particular stage, but as it grows through all its different stages, from seed through flower to fruiting and back again, and then look at its interaction with the environment, with the microbiome, with the mycelium networks, with our interaction with the gases. We can't live without plants. We breathe out carbon dioxide, they breathe it in, they breathe out oxygen, which we take in. We're a complete symbiotic. There is only really one organism on the planet, which is the biosphere. So how do we live in harmony with this? Well, you know, we study the flow patterns of water and air, you know, how they benefit life, the effects of colored light, atmospheric color generation, how we can build these sort of components into buildings, into products that people use, such as water structure devices, so you can drink better water. So basically from nature, you know, we learn these affirmative processes which can be engineered into these architecture and product development. So fundamentally is what we might call the anthropic cosmological principle, which is sort of bandied about at the fringes of modern science, where some people want to think, well, hey, maybe the universe was actually structured so that we could live in it. And they go, no, don't think like that. But the more you look, the more you find that the universe is created to sustain life and consciousness, and that we do have a purpose here. And if we do, then why don't we build in harmony? And it runs deeper. I won't go too deep into science, but just to give you some ideas of where we're coming from, you know, the motions and relations of the planets directly affect the energetic state of the biological processes here. There was Giorgio Picardi. He was the chemistry chair at the University of Florence in the 1950s and 60s. And he did about 10 years of experiments on basically chemical solutions, colloidal solution formation, like in our blood's colloidal solution. And he would graph the timing of those against solar and geomagnetic activity. And they found a direct correlation. They also related it to chicken blood coagulation experiments to show that it had direct relation to biological structures. But what they also found is, in assessing almost 10 years of data, is our position on Earth as where Earth's relationship to the center of the galaxy as it goes around the sun through the year has a direct effect upon us as well. So we're not just some random, you know, meat puppets on a rock that's flinging through space. There is this dynamic structure to everything around us. You know, we can see that there's this qualitative science that we can develop around all of this, and we have spent, you know, people like myself and Juan and a lot of our associates have spent decades tracking down these experiments and doing further ones. So if we look at these underlying principles, you know, the buildings and products that we develop, these reproduce the intrinsic formative patterns and energies found throughout nature, and thereby you're going to live better. You're going to live a more healthy life, living in a building built on these principles. You know, so it might sound a little scientific, but there's a purpose for it. You feel good when you're in there. You know, people understand that. They don't need to know the reason, particularly if they walk into a room and feel good. So yes, we look at the special materials, the sacred geometry, and the underlying principles, like when I was talking about the 5 elements of in architecture. So basically, you know, we want to create physical structures, spaces, environments that act as catalysts for the evolution of human consciousness. And you know, we have a website online, bioarc.co. You can look at some of Juan's design work on there, but I'll just show real briefly before I sign up. We develop things like these harmonic antennas, which this is basically copper and gold. I've worked with these antennas for nearly 40 years now of different types. And in biological testing, they actually, let's say you get around electromagnetic fields, you can measure biologically the person's energy drops down. You put one of these antennas around the person or on the source of the electromagnetism, and the biological energies rise back up. And you know, we've done a lot of other experiments with plant growth experiments inside buildings. So we come at this from a scientific perspective, but one that's based in nature and life. So I think that gives a general idea where we're coming from.
Thank you, Thomas. You have 2 minutes left.
Oh, great. I can go on for hours. Well, because there's so many more experiments.
Are you saying that if we live harmonized, we can be smarter, healthier? Because if you have enough oxygen coming to your brain, you actually smarter.
Absolutely.
So you can, if you live correctly, the art of living, you can actually born a smart kid.
Yes. Well, I think it's a perfect way to raise children is in the best environment that you can. And that's why, we look at buildings. Juan has experiments on the BioArc site where he has done plant growth experiments in different types of building, from square concrete buildings to special domes he's built just for these healing energies. And it's pretty obvious that the plants grow better in the better buildings. So naturally, people are going to feel better. We're going to have, better health being around this. So it only makes sense that this is where architecture should go, and real estate in general.
Yes,
and again, and just because I started out with the whole thing about the harmony of the universe, also look at when you're building, build in harmony. Look at the layout of where the sun rises and sets. I know some architects do this to a certain extent, but I think that it should be integrated in just as part of the holistic, science of architecture moving forward. So thank you for the time, Ayla.
Thank you, Thomas. So we will have our third speaker. He's my dear friend, Mr. Alwi Shaf. He's the founder of Alwi Shaf Architect. But he also a former of one of Asia Pacific biggest developer, the Lipo Group, and amazing architect. I went to his conference. He does amazing conference. It was one of the most beautiful building architecture conference that I ever been. Over to you, Pawi.
Hi, good evening, I guess, for everyone. We are from Jakarta here. So I prepared 3 projects. I just wondered whether it will bore you, because mine would be probably longer than Juan and Thomas has already presented. So allow me to go with my slides a bit longer, but if you get bored, please tell me, then I will stop it immediately. Okay. So I put the title Human Architecture and City, and I'm very much agree with Thomas that how we see the architecture with the air, with the nature and so on. So I'm someone who really going to architecture, which is very, how to say, human oriented, and also the city. So I have 3 projects to present. One is a residential in center of Java, and the other one is factory in West Java, and the other one, the last one, is the project that I have done, or so far still continuing in Lipo, as Ayla has already expressed it. Yeah. Just a short introduction. I have been was graduated from Berlin in architecture. Then I had my master in business administration, and now I'm doing my PhD degree in sociology for urban. Okay. So I love the quotation from Renzo Piano, which is saying that architecture is a very dangerous job. Yeah, if a writer makes a bad book, you can stop to read it. But if you make a bad architecture, you impose ugliness on a place for 100 years. So that's why he's saying architecture is a very dangerous job. Yeah. So next, this is a project that I have done in Malang in East Java. It's a residential. I would like to show you the layout before I have been in charge, and then after I have been in charge, because the house has been designed by another architect, but the owner was not satisfied with it, and then they called me for doing the architecture and the interior design. So as you may see from the image on the left side, it is very open space architecture. I also adapt the architecture from the Javanese culture, which we call a pendopo. Pendopo is sort of a guest house that is open, and then air coming from forth of the side, and then you will be able to receive your guests and so on. But it is surrounded very nicely with some water around the area. Yeah. On the right side is the master bedroom. If you can view it, it is looking to the nature. Yeah. At the background is basically a lake in the building. Okay. Now the left one is the architecture before I arrived, and then the right one is the new architecture, which if you look at the drawing thoroughly, you will see that how I created open spaces rather than only buildings around the area. Yeah. So I will go very fast because it will more technical. Next. So also for the other areas, so I try to get as much as openness for the architecture and get as much light as possible from every side of the building. Yeah. Also the master bedroom, as you have seen before, it is a much larger area, and you can view the lake and also the other part of the landscape very nicely. And this is the other what you call the other floor, where you can have the children bedrooms, and previously the bathroom were inside the room, and you will hardly get any fresh air and any natural light. But I try to push everything out from the center and put it where you can still have a lot of lights and nature air. Next. So this is how you look it from the above, from the perspective. You can see the master bedroom in a 45 degrees angle, and then you can see a pool very nicely, and you can look at the beautiful trees and landscape around the area. So on the right side is the enter, which we call it a pendopo, and how you can see all the water, the lights and the airs are coming in. So it's basically a very open space architecture. The left side is the entrance. When you just come in from the fence, the gate, then you will go to the right, you will take some steps going up to the foyer, and you will also see an open air foyer with beautiful trees and landscape around it. Also in the right image, you will also see another part of the architecture where you can see the courtyard in the middle, and a lot of trees, and the owner tried to nurture some birds in the area. Yeah. So the next project is going to be a project with the factory of a marble factory. So I'm quoting architecture. It's not about space, but about time. Yep. So the location of this architecture is in West Java. So it's like 45 minutes drive from Jakarta without jam. With a jam, you may be arrived about at least 1.5 hours. Yeah. So this is the layout or the site plan of the situation. On the right side is the factory itself. At the one that I put a circle is the building. So when I was involved in the project, basically the owner asked me to do just a project, and they want to try to save money as much as possible. So they would like me just to do a simple architecture with a big roof, and then since it's located in the factory, so they are thinking some sort of architecture looks like the storage or looks like the factory itself. But I came to the idea and telling them, so when you have workers, hundreds of workers working in the office, when they travel at least with 45 minutes, people will arrive there, people will get tired, and along the way, 8 hours at least working in the factory, you will be feeling exhausted. without seeing any natural light. So this is how it looks like with the factory where the marbles have been stored. Yeah. So next. Now, this is the layout that I have done. The width is 40 meter and the length is 70 meter. This was basically the site given to me because they have put some foundation for the structure for the factory. Yeah. So what I have trying to do is that I put in the center where you can see the two blocks, the white lane, where I purposely put a garden. So if you look at the right side, there are 3 gardens, 1, 2, 3, 4, where Thomas was saying also, if you live in an area with a lot of oxygen, you must be healthy and people must be smarter, I would say. And also I think people must be much more happier to be in the area. So from starting from what they would expect for just a box of office, I'm trying to break the whole area and put gardens in the middle. Next, yeah. So this is how it looks like. The green area is where all the garden in the middle, and then if you look at the drop off, coming to the drop off, you will arrive in the foyer, and then if you turn left, you will arrive in the corridor. So the whole building will be connected with corridors, but the meaning that whoever coming up from the staff area to the executive area and the meeting rooms are all located in the center. So it forces people to come out and to walk and to take a breath and to see the landscape and to see the nature. When it rains, people will know that it's raining. When it's shining with a hot sunshine, you will feel the heat in your area. So basically, you will be able to live with the nature as much as possible. So it is characterized that my architecture is basically an architecture for human and include all the landscapes with the architecture. So next, so this is how it looks like in the middle of the first garden. We purposely put only a tree and surrounded by a nice corridors. Yeah. So this is another view that looking to the boardroom, and you may see wherever the rooms are located, it will always look at the garden. It will always look at the trees and sunshine, and also when it's start to be raining and so on. So this is the last project that I would like to show you. Quoting from Oscar Niemeyer, he's saying, my architecture is easy to understand and enjoy. I hope it also is hard to forget. So whatever we do, I would say it should be very simple. Yeah, as graduated from Germany, I always put the in my memory, form follow function. It should be very functional. It should be very simple. So architecture should be functioning very well. Yeah. When I designed the cities in Lippo Karawaci, the cities are already there, been like about 25 years, but we try to do plenty of things just to make the cities more livable. Yeah, trying to get a few concept of doing this. So in the past, people will move from the rural area. If you see first urbanism, people will go to the center of the city from the rural area. The second stage, moving back from the urban to suburb area. And then the third urbanism is people go back to the rural area, and the rural settlements also transform into towns and cities. So the rural will no longer be a rural or a village, but it will turn up to become a center of the city. While if you see the globalization, the digitalization, those are things allow us to be no longer a rural, but to be cities, but it's just a little bit far away from the center of the city. Analyzing whatever they are going to do with the city, I assume that plenty of this young generation, the Gen Y, will live in the new cities. And we calculated that the generation were born in between 1980 to 2000. And in Indonesia, with a young adults of 96 billion, we are actually a country with a very high expectation of the future. We will be loved to be a country where growth will be foreseen in this area. And 50% of global workforce will be in 2020. Unfortunately, we had then the COVID coming in. So annual travel spending worldwide is about US 140 million. And if you look at the left of the table, you will see Jakarta has a commuter of 1.3 million a day, and Bodetabek is a greater Jakarta with a 2.2 million. So the inhabitants of Jakarta is around 9.2 million, and the rural area, the suburb area altogether counting to 18 million, 0.8. So this is how we see people will be moving around in the city, and how exhausted and a lot of time in Jakarta there are traffic. So I was throwing the idea to make the Lippo Karawaci to be more a livable city, a city where people can live, where they can work, they can learn and play and cohabit with nature. So another issue that coming lately, we are no longer talking about a city where you can only looking at the GDP, how much the GDP will be arrived, and how prosper the cities and the urban population are. But another elements being counting into a livable city, to a human life, which is a human well-being. Surely it will be supported by the quality of the human being itself, the knowledge, where you can see the human capital is, and also you will see the social and culture will play a lot of role into supporting human to become well-being, and also surely the economic and the environment itself. Yeah. So the concept is to have a city with a walkability. It has to be safety, and it has to be nowadays TOD transport oriented, and has public spaces, and at the same time it has to be vibrant. But also it has to be a healthy place to live. It has a lot of mixed use facility, and you have to be able to also enjoy the good quality of life in the city. So the vibrancy, yeah.
Your time is up.
Okay, I don't mind to stop. Yeah.
We will definitely need to interview each one of you 1 hour. It's because
Surely.
This is our last session, and I would like to call Princess Debbie and move with question and answer. Princess Debbie.
Good afternoon. I'm so excited that we are having such powerful men with powerful women around us as real estate leading change. Yes, I'm Debbie Dineo Raphuti, Princess Debbie Dineo Raphuti from South Africa. And I'm the co-founder in Africa and even the SADC, as we say. Men, you must be able to know that we women, we are the best real estate because we carried you. Everything needs property. Whether it is a healthcare center, it's a real estate. Whether it's a vegetables, flowers, it needs a space where you could be able to put it. We are saying to you, we are pleading with you that you come here also to partner with us as President, Princess Professor Ayla have already done, so that we can be able to change the world in the real estate arena. We need you. You can see that the world is growing, and the world is getting more closer to each other because of also of technology. We are really saying to you, gentlemen who are presenting today, come and partner with us. But we are the one who are going to be the drivers of the real estate leading change. We need you. In South Africa, the population is exponentially increasing, and people need a place to stay. People, they want assets, because we know that in the real estate there is a value chain, and there is an asset and equity. We really want the
Princess Debbie. Hello. We lost you. Princess Debbie is on the way to Jakarta, and I will take her to Bali. Before that, the Sheikh, the ruler of Dubai, personally accepting her. We're bringing about 9 projects in Africa, and we really, really hope that this gentleman can be involved. Yes, Princess Debbie?
Ayla, the men must be part. We are going to lead, and they are going to follow. I'm here.
Yes.
I'll be in the airport in the next 10 minutes. And love and light from South Africa, OR Tambo International Airport. We are in the bullet train at the moment. They call it How train. You can see that we are in the How train. I'm with President Rebecca. Love and light.
Thank you.
See. Thank you.
Thank you, Princess Debbie. I'm waiting impatiently for you come to Jakarta and Bali. And if Pak Awi, Juan, and Thomas have time, we can meet. We have 9 projects in Africa. You know, the purpose of this real estate leading change is to change the real estate world. So people don't build building like they just build building. We need to, this is the purpose of my education. And next year, I will ask you humbly on January to have 1 hour each of your time. Yes, gentlemen, it's not enough to talk about real estate with you in 1 hour with 3. So maybe another questions from a participant. Yes, Anna. Anna is from New York City. She used to work for the United Nations. Over to you, Anna. She's the world famous personal branding in Earth, you know. Over to you, Anna.
Thank you so much for this kind introduction. And real estate in New York is huge. It's one of the probably real estate capital, because on the small island of Manhattan, it's the whole universe built. The question is, with the new environment, most people are working from home and with the social distances in the offices. How do you see the future of the working real estate where people can be working together, either in the office bigger space? What trends, or maybe incorporating office space at home so they can be also doing their work from any location? Any trends you see in the architecture in the future, like 5-10 years from now? Thank you. It's just a question to any of the architect specialists.
Which one you want to ask, Juan, or all the 3?
Maybe all. I would love to see Juan. Yes, I love the presentation, by the way, a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I can speak about that. I think we have to really rethink the way we design spaces for people who work in them, because right now they're actually very detrimental for human health. So a lot of the things we talk about, like, most of artificial environments, especially offices, are depleted from natural air, natural ventilation, and there is not a lot of oxygen or negative ion in those kind of environments. And they're also not exposed to light, to natural light, which is so fundamental for the circadian rhythms to function properly and for the production of vitamin D. People get highly depressed And this is actually ultimately influencing the company itself that maybe have created those offices, because they are not able to create an environment that actually motivates people and gives generates the best conditions for the people who work in those spaces to actually be in their highest potential as human beings. And ultimately architecture, that's what it should be doing. So I spoke about lots of energetic components, but there is some very fundamental aspects, the elements themselves, like are we connected to the earth energies, to the earthing. There is natural electrons coming from the earth. When people are in those offices highly separated from the ground, they are insulated as well from these natural electron currents that come from the earth, and this is very detrimental. So I think there is possibilities there. I think there is solutions that can be implemented in offices, like full spectrum light, and trying to design spaces where natural light can actually enter the interior space. There is also to bring earthing devices that can be connected to the ground and bringing the earth energies into the spaces. And there is many things, trying to create some kind of natural systems of ventilation where we move away from natural air conditioned systems. And I have many other suggestions that actually could, it's like what I call bioenergetic optimization. You can optimize any environment. Doesn't have to be thought from the start, the whole architecture. You could actually create very, very simple solutions to optimize the energetic environment in many different ways. So that's just my little advice to you.
Yes, thank you so much. This is a perfect answer. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
you
you, Anna. Any more questions for the house? In the house? Pak Nusa, maybe you want to ask?
Oh.
Pak Nusa is going to be my partner in the digital city. We will, inshallah, by God's grace, will develop about 800 hectares of land, digital city in Greater Jakarta. Pak Nusa, you want to ask questions?
Well, I have actually millions of questions for the three architects. I mean, so interesting. Yeah, I mean, like, of course, especially in Indonesia, where we're taking the benefit of being last. I mean, like, future housing should confine to the way of the future. Yeah, environmental wise, energy wise. We all need to be grounded. Well, we can feel all our electrons are out. I feel like it's like missing its polarity with all the microwave, radio wave crisscrossing our bodies. Yeah. So we know this for a fact. It's the thing is nobody's is mitigating on this. Yeah, doing something about this, especially with this COVID. We need better circulation or better filtering system in our so it's immense. Yeah, I mean, like, it's going to be a revolutionary class of change, I would say, in design. Yeah, like in our case, we prefer to have our meeting outdoors, right? Not indoors. So can you imagine to that extent? Yeah. So yes, I mean, what's this? Combining with urban farming, so many. We're really looking into new construction technologies, yeah, and design, yeah, either for our new projects or housing for our employees, etc., etc. So many things, yeah. The use of friendly construction materials, paints, this, that, so many things, yeah. And we have not yet addressed, yeah. We know these things, right? Thing is, we have not yet act on it, right? I would say this will sell. It will bring a new pitching in property, in selling properties. I would say, right, Pauli, right? I mean, like, we've been doing things the mainstream way, which is, I would say, obsolete. It's obsolete. We're talking about clean energy, renewable energy, those kinds. So yes, it will be very interesting to hear more from our architects, and hopefully, Ibu Alia, Miss Alia could link this with Indonesian developers, right? So they, They have a new way developing their properties and development. Yeah, Mr. Alwi. Yeah, it's like that.
Yes, but
Thank you.
we have a lot of homework because first we need to educate first,
Oh
right?
yes, yes. I'm like we are in the
Not
data center.
many people understand like what is living, what
Wow.
is act of living.
It's quite hell
Not
actually.
live
Like
in
yes,
a very short room, like without light. You don't have a, you can
yes,
sleep
yes,
in
yes.
the floor if the floor is like a very good material that will actually gives you a lot of energy, like wood or even the real stone.
Yeah, that's why from time to
But
time you
a
need to
lot of
go to the
people.
lawn and just take off your shoes and just ground yourself.
Yes, but
Right? I do
not
that all the
many
time.
people understand it. Not many people,
Yes,
not many mother understand that they have to take the children to the park, and they
yes.
have to see what kind of park. They cannot go and bring the kids to the park where a lot of pollution, because that will deteriorate their brain
Oh,
capacity.
oh, everything, a lot of things. I mean, the way your body works will, how your body performs.
I actually make a research. Yes, when I'm with my first baby, I'm staying in the high oxygen, what you call it, high oxygen tube because I was sick and I cannot take medicine. I need to have oxygen. So I stay in my first baby. I stay in the tube most of 9 months. Every 2 days, I go to the tube. The second one, because it's maybe second pregnancy, I was not really feeling sick. The IQ of the baby is very, very strong, the difference. This one is the first one, he developed so fast, and I thought he have some autism, yes, because he developed so fast. When people not yet running, he already run, he already walk, and then he can complete. So I think why? Because I'm not as smart as him. I'm not as smart as my son. Then I'm thinking, oh, maybe the oxygen. Michael Jackson also have this oxygen.
Oxygen chamber.
So
Well,
I'm
that's
thinking like, how can we live in a very high oxygen? So we all very smart, when people come in, we already can feel like, the way I do business, I explain to people. A lot of people, don't understand that, when I met Pa Awi is not yet director of one of a conglomerate or big company, but I know he will be successful because of his energy, you know. And when I met Juan and Thomas, I can feel the energy. I step back, I can feel it, because these things you cannot lie. Energy, frequency, it's unseen. You cannot really see it, but you can feel it. This intuition, yes. So sometimes in a lot of time doing business deal, when I come to see people, they want to sign a paper. I told my husband or my partner, I'm not gonna do business with them because the energy is not good, right? This is very important, but probably they have extensive energy. This energy is so important that when people walk in the room, they will look at like, a lot of my partner, a lot of my business partner, a lot of my associate, when I met them, actually they just like biasa, then suddenly it's not I'm doing, but you can sense it. That's the sheet of people, they will be successful, extremely successful because of their energy. That's not so many people understand it, but it's also because of the, like, like a pet, for example. This I want to ask to Thomas and specifically, because recently I have a pet. Can pet give us a good energy in the house? Pet, like whatever, Thomas, you are on mute.
Yes, I think that basically animals, if they're in a healthy state, are very good for interaction with humans and helping keep healthy. Is that what you're talking about? Pets like that?
When we have a pet, for example, because pet have energy, yes, like they give you whatever, can
Mhm.
can that transfer, like the happy energy it's transferring, and that can change your life? in pets, or even art collection like paintings? Or
I
do
think
you
art,
think there is an energy in?
yes, I think art is very important to it all. I mean, I always believed in setting up spaces with aesthetic art around for the purpose of feeling good. So, that's why I've done a study of different phases of art and how they affect consciousness. So I think that's very important. And yes, definitely having pets. But one thing I wanted to bring up, it came up earlier, I forget exactly where in the discussion, but one of the things I looked at in my research some years back was the effect that tall buildings in cities have on the weather. They have incredible detrimental effect on weather flows. So I've actually put in a proposal to a big Chinese group up in Changsha that builds a lot of skyscrapers. They got the world's record for building the biggest, fastest skyscraper. They do a lot of very innovative technology, but they didn't pursue what I did. But it's ways of actually building in, looking at the science that Juan and I are developing, actually building special devices into the buildings themselves to ameliorate the detrimental effects on the atmosphere that these tall buildings have. One of the people I worked with for many years was a man named Trevor Constable. He was a New Zealander, but lived in the United States for many years, where I met him. He was chief radio officer for the Queen Mary and chief radio officer for Matson Lines, big container line. But he did experiments with what he called etheric weather engineering, that he would actually make geometric devices, just little geometric devices, kind of like what Juan and I work with. And he could make it rain on sunny days. And he would actually file like 2 or 3 months in advance with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, say, okay, I'm gonna make it rain on July 29th in LA in the middle of summertime. And he would do it 3 months in advance to let people know, just to show he could do it, official filings. So that, where we place the buildings, what we put in the buildings, it affects not only the people inside, but also the environment outside. It affects everything. We have to look at this in a completely holistic manner. So yes, the animals we put in, the art we put in, the materials, I think it's all very important. Quality of life. And I think you've mentioned this a number of times, Ayla. I think it's the most important is education, educating people about these ideas, about healthy living. It's a big job, and I'm not sure how we can all accomplish it except doing our piece as we move forward. But I understand where you're coming from, definitely.
Thank you, Thomas. And Pak Nusa, maybe you will want to have a Pak Awi contact, because Pak Nusa now is buying buildings everywhere. Yeah, he's a digital man. So now the building is not human.
It's not buying buildings everywhere. I mean, it's just well, of course. I mean,
yes. So
we need to improve the way we operate, right? I mean, like I said, we have a number of schools, and of course, now the schools are closed. I mean, like, even though since the very beginning, we don't use air conditioning. We don't have carpets in our schools, and so generally our students are healthier than most students. Yeah, since we established our schools way in 1996. Yeah, we have 7 schools now. So it's like that. And we're all for this, and now we're changing the things we do in our school. Yeah, we're like, say one school has a capacity of 2,000. Now we can take in 10,000 students. For a school with a capacity of only 2,000, they take turns. But because these students, they still need to interact, right? Like you said, energy between pets and human. Same thing with human to human, right? We just don't know the science behind it, right? I mean, I just wish there is a measurable science that can really put this in. Inside of the.
If you hang around with the right human, you'll be a human.
Yes, because I think Pauli agrees. Yeah, I mean, We need
if you
to.
hang around with inhuman, you cannot be human. You become inhuman. You know.
Yes.
Oh, this is
Yes.
important. That's why I stay in mountain. I don't literally meet anybody. You know, I stay in mountain. I'm very selective because the energy. It's true. It's true, Panusa. The energy.
Absolutely. I would love to stay in the mountains, but some people don't have any choice, right? We have a number of data centers. We still have to look after them. And you can imagine, in our industry, daily we're surrounded by machines, electricity. So you can imagine the kind of environment we have, in our daily life. So we've been in the data center industry for 20 years. So you can imagine how actually sick of it we so we need, we try to make the environment as nice as possible. Greenery here and there, a nice common area, lounge, those kinds of game room. But well, it's not enough, right? It's not enough, especially with this COVID. We lock down our facilities. Nobody goes there anymore. We cannot let anybody go in, because we're an infrastructure, not just like any office that can close down, right? It's like, so we are in big. We need, so it's like that. So that's why I said it'd be interesting to talk to the three of you, and then maybe give some insights to developers. It's important, because we're facing a lot of problems, like we all know health what's this affects performance, this and that. A lot of changes nowadays, right? So yes, and you know that we are in Indonesia. We have a backlog of 12 million houses now. 12 million houses. Can you imagine? I mean, we should develop those 12 million houses with all these new methodologies, these new concepts, right? Not like the old boxes. I mean, like really inhumane boxes.
I want to ask question to Pak Awi. Pak Awi, how do you feel when you build a city? You actually become like, how you say it? God, not God, but you actually, build. How big is this city, Pak Awi?
It's about 3,000 hectares in the center, and then we have another 1,000 in the northern part. So all together with the southern part, we are having about 8,000 hectares.
Wow.
Yeah.
8,000 hectares. You probably the most hectare architect I met in my life. So it's about 16,000 acre. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, like Indonesia, like India, China, we developed a huge cities, right? Huge, right? It's like
how did you feel to build a city? Because imagine these people living, it depends on you, Pak.
Yeah, that's the reason why. So when I proposed the concept for the cities, or even a small project like I had mentioned before, even a house or a factory, basically my approach is human-oriented. So everything that we are building, everything that we are creating, or what we are planning should be for the human. We should not build things for the cars, because the city was basically occupied by the cars in the past, when we started the 1970s, when cars industry has been flourished so well. But at the end of the day, now in the time of COVID, or even before the COVID, you will be realizing that cars are not really some things that can replace the human. Look at most cities in the European countries, where they ban the cars coming into the center of the city, right? So look at Copenhagen, look at all the other cities around the northern part of Europe, and also now coming to the center part of Europe. So why we in Jakarta still building those cities, planning for huge boulevards, what we call so-called modern and prosperity. That's how we understand modernity and prosperity, through the cars, through the roads that we are building. But we didn't put much attention to how the human should be oriented to any other of our development. So when you look at the situation now with the COVID, yes, it is a very important question how architecture will look like. But if you look at, I'm sorry to say, of my own architecture, if I look back to my own architecture, they are architecture with a lot of lights, a lot of airs coming in. So nowadays in the COVID times, you are no longer wanting to stay in a restaurant where you are indoor, but you prefer something outdoors. So I would say the new normal coming into our life was probably the normal. So the one that we lived before was not the normal, the situation. I would say probably that would be the scientific research to be done, because in the past we'll live in an air-conditioned room, which is not healthy at all. We hardly can feel the air. So the reason why when I designed the factory in Kerawang, the owner was just thinking to put a big chunk of the box and then put everybody in to work. But to me, it is not the right way to do, because you are not respecting the human. You are not respecting people who are traveling 45 minutes at least, or 2 hours in the max, coming and going back to the city. So if we do not look at the human as a human, why are we building architecture? Why are we building cities? I mean, that is a useless approach or useless effort for whatever we are building. So when we build for the human, we know it has to be healthy. We know it has to be function for the human. We know that it has to respecting the human, how they walk, how they connect to each other, how they can communicate to each other, how they can feel the air, how can they feel the sunlight coming in, or the rain even. So those are the communication, like you got the energy from the raining season, you got the energy from the dry season, you got the energy from the water, you got the energy from the sun, you got energy from the nature. That is how people lived before. And why are we now building cities and architecture where we'll be prisoner become a prison in such a box, and you can't even hardly see whether the sun is shining outside, whether this is raining, whether it is a big storm coming in. You were just sitting in a room where you are basically concentrating with your work and with the box where you can no longer see the nature. So we have to live in the nature. I think I'm just happy that the COVID coming in and proven to us that, look, guys, we have to live with the nature.
Yeah, I see where.
I think you're right, but because we don't know any science on this. Yeah, that's why we always follow Feng Shui. Yeah? I really believe in Feng Shui because it's based on 2,000 years of experience. We just don't know the science, we just follow it. But I bet there's science behind all this, the angles, why, well, the principle of Feng Shui, right? There is a electromagnetic principle in it, but Mr. Thomas and Juan put this into perspective, something understandable, right? So we need to make this easier to comprehend by the masses.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's a very interesting question, actually, because a lot of things that Feng Shui and many, for example, the Egyptian Feng Shui, which is biogeometry, or the Vastu in India, which is all the Feng Shui of the Vedic culture. So a lot of these principles actually can be improved by science. A lot of the things that this ancient knowledge we're talking about are actually very real. So the fact that certain shapes and certain angles can put certain energetic forms, and this can create effects on living systems is something very real. And there is actually instruments that can measure these effects. One of them is actually something I have, which is called the BioWell, which uses Kirlian photography. Are you familiar with Kirlian photography? And it has a device. It's called the Sputnik.
Sorry, Juan, what is it?
It's called the BioWell. It's called the GDB, and it uses a little antenna that you put in there, and it creates a graph. And I have lots of these studies, but actually I did a study where we measured 11 different structures. 5 of them were structures that we built here with all these bioarchitectural principles that we use in BioArch, and another 6 of them were conventional buildings. And we did a lot of these different measurements. We used the BioWell, we did a CGN measurement experiment, we measure electric field, magnetic field, and radiation. We use spectrum analysis. So all these things I was talking about trees, like how you can measure the subtle harmonics coming out of trees. I have a device that I helped to develop. I helped to develop the software specifically. And with that device, it's actually a headset that is used to measure brain waves. You can take that device and you can put it into the space and you can measure the subtle harmonics of the space. So if your building measures the Schumann harmonics and those are present in your structure, that means that building is going to be very beneficial for you. And so a lot of the things actually I've been reading and looking at Feng Shui, they somehow orient you to connect you with nature, to put you back into the natural sort of like way, and you will be naturally exposed to these natural frequencies. To say one example, but there are many other things that maybe if they didn't fully understand the science, their concepts were very correct, like where they were trying to create these natural spaces where you could be in the presence of the elements. In Feng Shui, they say that water attracts qi and air or wind moves the qi. So there is natural flows of energy that flow through the space. So how you design your space is how these energies actually flow through your environment. And those energies are very real, whether they are electromagnetic or they are subtle energetic, which are actually not necessarily electromagnetic. There may be coupled to the dielectric field, but they are subtle energies. They are not understood by sciences. And all buildings and all forms, all shapes produce and interact with subtle energies. And this is becoming a science. It's not a science. It's not a science of quantity. It's not something that you can only quantify. It also produces a quality of energy that you can detect. You can for sure you can feel. Everybody's able to feel these energies, but we are disconnected from these higher senses in our modern world. We have been taught we cannot feel these things, but we are very capable, and most of people do. This is why you run away of a place if you don't feel good about this about a space. But so there is a bridge that now is happening where there is certain instruments that they can be used to actually measure these subtle energies, and we can begin to understand why when a building is designed in such a way that is able to create a field, a harmonic field that will be then beneficial for life and consciousness. And you will sleep better, and you will dream beautifully, and you will have you will be more intelligent, more smart in many
Better
ways.
people coming.
And it has so many other benefits. And this is ancient technology that has been our modern architecture has moved away from that. We have moved away from nature. We have moved away from these ancient traditions that really understood those principles, maybe in a much more abstract way. But now we can then explain them by science. And we can bridge spirituality and science and put them together and create a place where these two can now converge again into a higher knowledge, into a more further developed knowledge.
Spirituality is science. I can prove it to you because you are atom, you are molecule, and then you form a DNA.
Yeah, I mean, like you can really feel. I mean,
Cosmos or spirituality.
If you live just next to the highway, it drains you, right? I mean, those kinds of things. It drains the energy. Yeah, it drains you. I mean, so that's why. I mean, this. I think Mr. Awi should find this very interesting, yeah, but not only in designing buildings, but only township, right? And especially if you can put all these variables into a system, a software, which can stimulate, yeah, the energy flow, the flowing to the city, the house. Wow, this could be fantastic. This is the city of the future, right?
Absolutely.
Wow, amazing discussion. I don't want to end this, but the time has come, and I just want to ask maybe Princess Debbie, are you still here? Or Ibu Juliastina to close? And our real estate leading change have two forms. It's called high conscious beyond space and boldness in real estate. Yes, so I combine the Asia, which is it's called my personal branding sector of real estate. It's called high conscious beyond space. And the Africa one, it's boldness in real estate. Combining these two, we need to be bold enough in 2021. Everyone should be the educator of this real estate leading change, because we are the people who run the real estate. We need to educate more people, more young people, more mother. So when they buy real estate, they understand the importance of the art of living inside of real estate. This is the serious business, super serious business. You cannot say, oh, yeah, you live in real estate your whole life. Everything is in real estate. It's like alpha to omega. It's very important. And let's close this session with words of prayer. I officially close Real Estate Leading Change 2020. And thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody. You have been an amazing speaker, amazing supporter, and moreover, you are the starting point of this new real estate leading change. Yes, we're gonna educate more. We're gonna try to win more developer that understand this. Thank you. Love and light for all of you. Have a blissful New Year. Have a blissful Christmas. Love and light from Bogor, Indonesia. Over to you, Princess Debbie or President Juliastina to close. Love you all. Thank you.
You, Ayla. God bless you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Nice knowing you, Thomas, Johan, Mr. Alwi.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Princess Debbie or Ibu Juliastina, can you close with words of prayer? We have to pray because it's sending energy, atom, molecules. Princess Debbie? Princess Debbie, okay. Maybe Ibu Juliastina can close. Thank you so much. Yes, everyone. Anna from New York, Mpo from South Africa, Michelle, Nadia, Norma from South Africa, President Leseho, and everyone. Thank you so much. Yes. Over to you, Ibu Juliastina or Princess Debbie.
Thank you very much for all guest speakers tonight. I'm so sorry I was outside now. I'm driving now. Can I ask maybe Mpo, can you lead us with the prayer?
Okay, good afternoon, Heavenly Father. We thank you so much for everything, especially for this last session of this year 2020. As we go on to celebrate the holidays, we pray that you can be with each and every one of us. And we also thank all the presenters that have been with World Women Leading Change from the beginning till today. And we've learned so much. We pray that we can be able to use this knowledge in our day-to-day life, realizing that everything is connected in one way or the other. And for that, we're deeply grateful that there are people that studied this and learned this and use this on a daily basis. And as that happens, we also learn and we grow mentally, spiritually, and just with knowledge. We pray, thanking you for all of us who are gathered here, especially the founder of World Women Leading Change, President Ayla, and all the people who've been with World Women Leading Change from the beginning and moving on, and all those people that will still meet and connect with. And also we are deeply grateful that you enabled us to be able to always be able to join together and be with them and learn so much. We pray for everyone in every country, from Michelle in Brazil, South America, and all of us here in Africa, and all those in Asia, Australia, everywhere else, even in India. And we thank you. We would like to say thank you so much for everyone and happy holidays. We know that this year has been a very trying times, but we've had triumphs and really got to do wonderful things that we would not have done if we did not experience what we experienced today. We pray, Heavenly Parent, that you can help all of us to always know and understand that we are because you are, and to always revere you in every way possible. We pray, grateful for everything. We'd like to say thank you, we love you. I'd like to report and request all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Mpo. What a
Amen.
beautiful prayer.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so
Have
much.
a blissful holiday. We listen to our
For the
song. Don't forget to download subscribe our channel in YouTube. We also have a World Leadership Conference, a group in Facebook. Yes. And have a blissful 2021. And for my leader, especially, have a fruitful meeting with the ruler of Dubai, the Al Maktoum family. And see you soon. Love you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Nadia,
Bye.
Nadia, the song.
Bless
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ayla, for inviting. Bye-bye.
Yes, Juan. Look
Blessings,
forward to
blessings.
seeing you again.
Likewise.
Bye all. Bye all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
We are the woman leading change, leading change. We are the woman leading change, leading change. We are the woman leading change, leading change. We are the woman leading change for our people, for our countries, for everyone in the world. Love, peace, needed in this world. Endurance, needed in this world. Forgiveness, needed in this world. Unity, needed in this world. Yes, African woman leading change. Antarctican woman leading change. Yes, Asia woman leading change. Yes, Australia woman leading change. Yes, Europe woman leading change. Yes, North America. Yes, South America. Woman leading change. Kalirato fella. Kalirato fella. Woman leading change. Kalitabo fella. Kalitabo fella. Woman leading change. Gotando pella. Gotando pella. Woman leading change. Yes, Indonesia. Yes, Ayla. Yes, Ayla. Woman leading change. Yes, Indonesia. We thank you. World woman leading change.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone. On Saturday, we have Christmas celebration. Yes, we officially close the education. So we have celebration of Christmas with a very famous singer from Canada. Bye-bye on Saturday. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.